Why did you even come to University Hospital? Mike sneered. Do you really think a doctor can cure ignorance or poverty? He smirked, clearly pleased with himself. I didn't bother reacting. His arrogance had long stopped impressing me. That's none of your concern. Mike chuckled. You're always so distant. But no matter how prestigious this place is, they can't fix someone who's uneducated and poor. I didn't even fake a laugh. Before he could continue, hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. A nurse rushed toward us, panic written across her face. Her eyes locked onto me as she waved urgently. Doctor! We have an emergency. The patient is unconscious and in critical condition. Please, right now. Mike's smirk froze. My name is Jessica, the eldest of 4. When I was still in elementary school, my father died. Overnight, my mother became the sole provider, burdened not only with grief but with the crushing debt he left behind. No matter how hard she worked, it was never enough. At her request, I dropped out of high school and took a job at a nearby factory. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was worth it, if my siblings could study freely, if they could escape the life I was trapped in. Everything changed when I turned 18. My supervisor began inviting me to dinner. Eventually, he asked if I'd consider dating him. I already had feelings for him, so I said yes. 2 years later, on my 20th birthday, he proposed. His name was Mike. I was honest with him from the start. I told him I never finished high school. He smiled and said education didn't matter when there was love. He spoke of equality, of partnership. Despite the age gap, he never looked down on me, at least, not at first. But people change. And Mike changed faster than I ever expected. Do you even realize who's supporting your lifestyle? He snapped one day. You should be grateful. His words made me flinch. When we got married, he insisted I quit my factory job. I wanted to keep working, but he was firm. I want you at home, he said. The house should be clean. Dinner should be ready. That's your responsibility now. Worried about sending less money to my family, I hesitated, but I gave in. Now, to him, I was nothing more than a useless, unemployed burden. I want to work, I said one evening, finally gathering the courage. He laughed. Who would hire a high school dropout like you? Your place is here. Cold. Final. That was the moment I knew quitting my job had been a mistake. The allowance he gave me shrank month after month. If I mentioned money, he blamed my poor budgeting. So I stayed silent and covered expenses with the small savings I'd secretly built up. As he lounged on the couch, drink in hand, a terrifying thought crept into my mind. Divorce. I was still young. I could leave. I could start over. I could reclaim my life. Mike never noticed my unraveling. In his eyes, I was just another shallow, ungrateful woman. I tried, again and again, to talk to him. Every time, he avoided me. I'm tired. I have plans. I don't want to talk. Once, he didn't even bother hiding his contempt. I don't discuss serious matters with people who have such low education. That was my breaking point. That evening, after clearing the dinner table, I made my decision. My hands trembled as I approached him. My mouth was dry. My heart pounded. There's something we need to talk about. He glanced up at me, bored. I placed the documents in front of him, divorce papers, neatly arranged, alongside a letter from our lawyer. I think we should get a divorce. For a moment, he said nothing. His fists slowly clenched. His face reddened. I braced myself for shouting, but instead, silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and venomous. Someone with your level of education. He stood abruptly, eyes blazing. You think a woman with nothing more than a high school diploma has the right to challenge me? He shouted. To demand a divorce? I took a step back, but I didn't retreat. I had endured enough. Fighting back tears, I met his gaze head-on. Something in my eyes made him hesitate, just for a second. Then I raised my phone. The screen displayed messages between him and a female coworker. Gifts. Late-night texts. Hotel confirmations. Evidence. You had money for her, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the pain. But not for our home. If I'm such a burden, then let me go. For the first time, Mike was speechless. Then he scoffed. Living with someone so dull is exhausting, he said casually. I needed a little escape. No apology. No shame. He turned back to the TV. The emptiness of his response crushed me. I walked over and shut the TV off. Silence flooded the room. Holding the divorce papers out again, I said softly, just sign them. Please. Why was he refusing? He despised me. He humiliated me. He cheated on me. So why wouldn't he let me go? If he believed I had no right to ask for a divorce, then why didn't he end it? I would endure any judgment, society's whispers, wounded pride, if it meant escaping him. If you want a divorce so badly, my husband, he said with a lazy sigh, lifting the court documents, fine, I'll agree to the divorce, on one condition, repay every cent of the living expenses I've spent on you. He paused, lips curling into a grin. That shouldn't be hard, right? Oh, wait, you're just an uneducated stay-at-home wife. Mike chuckled, clearly enjoying himself. In the 3 years of our marriage, the money he'd given me, by the most conservative estimate, exceeded $333,000. Almost all of it had gone toward rent, groceries, and basic expenses. There was never room for indulgence, despite my efforts to save. I often had to dip into what little I'd managed to put aside. His demand was impossible. I stood there in silence, my thoughts in chaos. Mike watched me struggle, his smug smile widening, and in that moment, quietly, stubbornly, something ignited inside me. I would prove him wrong. 12 years later, I stood in the lobby of a university hospital, momentarily disoriented. It was my first time here, and the endless corridors blurred together. Doctors and nurses hurried past without sparing me a glance. I clutched a folded map, turning it over again and again, hopelessly lost. Jessica? I froze. Turning around, I saw a middle-aged man staring at me. His face felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. I'm sorry, I said hesitantly. Have we met? He let out an irritated sigh. Do high school dropouts forget faces too? You don't recognize your own ex-husband? The arrogance clicked into place. Mike. The moment I said his name, he sat down heavily on a lobby chair, satisfaction written all over his face. So, he said with a smirk, what brings you to University Hospital? Don't tell me you think a doctor can fix being poor and uneducated. He laughed at his own joke. I didn't react. That's none of your business. He leaned back. No matter how prestigious the hospital is, they can't cure ignorance or poverty. I didn't even bother pretending to laugh. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed behind us. A nurse rushed toward me, waving frantically. Doctor, emergency patient, unconscious, critical condition. Please come immediately. I stood up at once. The nurse handed me a lab coat without hesitation. Mike's smile vanished. I'm so sorry, the nurse said quickly. It's your first day after transfer, but there were no other doctors available. She rushed off again. Mike stared at me as if he'd seen a ghost. I handed him the hospital brochure I'd been holding. I'm a doctor. After stabilizing the emergency patient, I went straight to the consultation room, wondering the hospital would only slow me down, and despite it being earlier than my scheduled time, I officially began work. I glanced at the chart before entering and stopped short. Mike sat in the examination chair. Our eyes met. His widened in disbelief. According to the chart, he had a serious heart condition and had been referred here for specialized treatment. I took a slow breath and focused on my work. By the time I finished the examination, his discomfort was obvious. Is there anything else you'd like to ask? I said calmly. He hesitated, then muttered, "How does someone like you, a dropout, become a doctor?" The nurse beside us looked at him sharply. My father was a doctor, I said evenly, and for the record, I didn't leave school because of poor grades. Memories surfaced, my father's absence, his debts, his flaws, but also his insistence that I study, his belief that education mattered. I was top of my class in elementary and middle school. After my father died, I had to work, but I never stopped learning. I earned my diploma. I went to medical school. There's no way you had the money, he snapped. My mother saved what I earned. I received scholarships. Scholarships? He scoffed. I met his eyes. You mocked me because you never knew the full story. The nurse whispered that consultation time was nearly over. As I stood to prepare the next chart, I added quietly, "About the living expenses you demanded, I can repay them right now. Even double. My current income is higher than yours." His face flushed crimson. He slammed his chair back and stood up. "Just wait. You fake doctor, I'm filing a complaint." He stormed out. I exhaled slowly, exhausted but relieved. Later, I learned the truth. After our divorce, Mike's affair partner rejected him. Rumors spread at his workplace, and he resigned under pressure. His pride shattered further when 2 more women turned him down. He drank more, smoked more. Eventually, his heart gave out. Despite everything, I treated him professionally. He still comes for regular checkups. Once, he even asked if I'd remarry him. I declined. I live with my family now. I'm respected in my field. I earn more than enough to support the people I love. My days are busy, full, meaningful. And sometimes, only sometimes, I look back on that marriage with a quiet sense of emptiness and relief.